Hey, this is James P. White, and welcome to the Bald and Short of It podcast. As I said, I'm James P. White, and we got none only than Chris Mooney across the city from me. And this is the Bald and Short of It podcast. In case you're wondering why we call it the Bald and Short of It podcast, he's bald, I'm short, and he always wears a hat, so you can never tell. And how's it going, big guy?
Not bad. I always wear a hat. You're standing on two milk crates.
Close enough. I'm sitting on a toolbox full of knives. Um,
Feels like you're standing,
it.
like right
Uh,
now. Yeah.
that's the
No, I mean,
difference.
I don't know. It's just the way, like, there's nothing behind you, like so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, I don't have a chair that sits this low.
yeah.
But yeah,
We should change the name
uh,
to the Overcompensation Podcast.
it's overcompensation podcast. Yeah, we're known for overcompensating. For
Like when you
sure.
try to be funny.
I don't have to try. It's natural, dude. But yeah, we got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. For those of you who don't know, this is an Edmonton podcast, and we're going to get into some really cool stuff that's going to be going on in the city. I love the summer in Edmonton, all the festivals and all that kind of stuff that we have going on. We're going to touch on that. And let's start the show out with talking about our Canada Day, because we did kind of touch on that we were going to go in your boat last podcast. Let's get right into that. So, where I love how you laugh every time I say that.
Well,
Uh,
because like
I
I
repeat
was
myself.
there. I was there. I
What's
know it
that?
happens. It's always fun when we hang, but yeah. And you know what? Just for those of you listening here, like we haven't really talked a lot this past week since the Canada Day trip because Jimmy had work and wrestling, which we'll touch on, I'm sure. Um, and before, like when we were kind of prepping before we started recording here, like we said, let's go on hot,
Go
like
in hot.
let's not burn some of our convo by talking too much before. So how's tricks, buddy? How's wrestling?
The wrestling was fun. Nobody dropped me this time because they all kind of decided that I'm way too heavy to lift. Um, for those who don't know, I am a little person and I weigh 130 pounds and I'm 4 feet tall. And I've been told I'm really hard to lift. And yeah, some big guys a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago, dropped me and they said, we're never doing that again because I weigh a lot more than they assume.
That was the
But
battering ram. The battering ram,
that
right?
was the
Like
battering ram. Yeah.
like for those who are not familiar, like a couple of guys will grab Jimmy on either end and just hold him like a battering ram into guys. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
They,
It's
they grab
hilarious.
my belt, my armpit and just start hitting people with me. And and they decided when they dropped me for the second time that maybe they should stop. Uh, you know, and I thought it was a good idea for them to stop too after they dropped me for the second time. But yeah, I love the wrestling. It's a lot of fun. We it's if you haven't been to a live wrestling show, have it be. There's so many big like there is a lot of promotions here in Edmonton. Like I'm part of Monster Pro Wrestling. There's RCW. There's a bunch others. I don't want to blow like tell everybody go to somebody else, but if you come to us, we're fun. I enjoy it. It's a great crew. We
Yeah.
You've
No,
been to a show. You've been to a show.
yeah.
Kind of explain what you feel.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need Jimmy to promote it, and like, um, we went. I think we talked about this last week, but our mutual friend Johnny and I went um, a couple 3 months ago just to support Jimmy. Like, really, I'm like, wrestling. Like, any of you from like our vintage or my vintage would remember like Stampede Wrestling back in the day. They'd alternate live shows between Edmonton and Calgary every week, and it was always on TV, and you'd watch it Saturday, I think 4 or 5, I think before Bugs Bunny or something, and it was a big deal. Um, Got us all loving wrestling, and that was before the WWF. Later, WWE came and gobbled up all that stuff. But I'm not really a wrestling guy. I don't watch that shit now. But honestly, we went to support Jimmy that one. They do it the first Friday of every month at Avenue Community Hall. That's Monster
Alberta
Pro,
Avenue.
Alberta Avenue. That's it. Yeah, they do the Monster Pro, and like I said, we went to support Jimmy, and then it was so much fun. We went back the next week. Fans are really into it. They usually have a full house, good talent on show, and they got beer, and it's all ages. So there's not too much to complain about, and they really do deliver a good product. The little the little anvil notwithstanding.
Yeah.
So what happened this week?
Oh, I saved a couple of my guys from getting beat up, as a superhero does. But yeah, it's just that like there was a like we have about 6, 7 matches every show, and we had 3-on-3. I was part of the a tag team. Um, they interfered in there as well as the ladies title. I was part of that one too.
That makes
As
sense.
I'm a I'm a manager, so I don't actually wrestle, but I do kind of get involved.
Yeah, like but all the ones that I've seen, like you've gotten into it. Like so, I mean,
Oh
like
yeah.
we already mentioned the battering ram. Like what kind of shenanigans were you up to, like specifically
Uh,
last Friday?
one thing that I've been doing a lot more lately, and you're going to kind of laugh at this one, is one of my things that I've done in every match for the last 4 matches is I end up biting someone, and usually in the ass. And like that's been my way of you know protecting my people is biting someone when they're not looking. And
Whatever it takes, buddy.
'cause the thing is like with a lot of stuff like this where you have a little person involved in the wrestling, it's all comedy bits. It's all things where it makes people laugh. Because you very rarely do you see a big guy bite another big guy in the ass, but you always see a
Yeah,
little person do it.
like
There's little things that we do
yeah,
that,
like so, like the week before, or sorry, the month before the battering ram, the first time I went, you got into it. You were in the ring with some of the fellas, and I think you tapped the guy on the shoulder, and then he turned around, and then you bent down, and then they pushed him over you or something. I thought that was pretty funny. So like,
yeah, so what I do is I get their attention. They turn and look and they don't see me because I'm crouched down behind their legs. And then one of my people push him and he trips over me and then I get out of the ring.
so this week that sadly we missed you, or this month, I guess last Friday, you bit somebody in the ass. Like, was anyone surprised? Because I bet that happens all the time in the locker room, given your proclivities.
Yes, I, okay, yes, I am a leveled ass and yes, I
Yeah,
am an
like
ass
whenever
man,
I hang out with Jimmy,
but,
I'm
but
always
I
facing
don't,
him.
I don't bite everybody in the ass. But the thing is the last couple shows I have been doing a lot of biting lately, and I had a little kid tell me during intermission that it's not very nice to bite. That so so I got in trouble from a 6-year-old.
Yeah, you're setting a shitty example, but I mean
Yeah,
that applies to your regular life too. I mean, like I said, in the locker room, all those guys. I know you get pretty excited, you know.
ha ha ha. You've never been in the locker room,
Hey,
uh,
listen,
but
did you wear the mask or?
no, I'm just half sacked the pirate, so I have my headband, my
Yeah,
and my pirate gear.
yeah. It was a good week or a good month. You guys had a good show and everything.
Yeah, it was really good. Like the thing is with summer shows because there's so much going on in the summer and there's so
Yeah,
much and the weather's so good. We don't we had about over 200 people, but like during the winter we get like full like standing room only like 300 plus people.
yeah. I go ahead.
In the summer we don't get as much because there's so much going on.
Particularly somewhere like Edmonton, where you know, like as soon as the snow melts, you have like a million more things to do. Like when it's covered in snow, like no one's at the parks, no one's riding their bikes, no one's out doing stuff outside. And I only learned that like a few years ago because I don't know if we mentioned, but I play in bands, and like the easiest time to get a gig is the summertime because they want something to bring people in. Because as I said, like people are outside, people are doing things like exploring like the world that you don't get to explore when it's like -30 and covered in snow. Um, yeah, I was surprised to learn that because I'm like, hey, everyone's optimistic it's summer, and then they go, well, besides a patio, who wants to be sitting in a bar? Besides you and me, I guess.
Yeah. But also the thing is, like, especially in a place like Edmonton, let's get into what we're going to talk about a little bit. We got so many festivals going on this year.
Yeah, yeah.
You got K Days, you got Taste of Edmonton, you got Heritage Fest in August, you've got Fringe Festival. There's so much stuff going on, live music everywhere, and you don't have to be inside. Like a lot of this stuff, like Taste of Edmonton is outside. We've got like Heritage Fest is outside. K Days, of course, like you have the rides and all that kind of stuff. Live music,
The
great.
works, street performers. I mean, the list goes on and on, right?
Oh yeah, and that's what Edmonton is known for is our summer stuff like
Oh,
that. And
Festival City,
yeah,
Fringe.
and the Fringe Festival. Actually, I have a friend of mine that's actually doing a play in the Fringe Festival, and it's a Popeye the musical. A friend of mine is part of that. And like, there's so much stuff like Taste of Edmonton this year. We got, some really good acts going on. We got Big Sugar on this, July 17th.
Trooper.
You got Clayton Bellamy and Ali Walker. We got Royal Foundry and a bunch of local, like there's always local talent at these things. And K Days has a bunch of big acts too, but more pops. K Days is more the pop scene, so the younger kids like
I don't
stuff.
know, man. Like last year, I mean, it's every night they got something. And
Yeah,
last year, I think it was last year, we went and saw Amanda Marshall, and boy, that was great. And the venue's really good too. I mean, you're all standing, but it's usually nice out, and yeah, no, it's great. Like further to what you said, I mean, Edmonton's known as like quote unquote festival city, right? Um,
yeah.
and like even, I mean, a few years back, Andrew and I took the kids to Ice on White, and even that, I mean, it's like it's below zero, but they got the ice slides and the sculptures and shit, like beer
Yeah.
gardens, and I don't know. I think, yeah, it's one of those things that kind of reinforces your civic pride when all the people come out and they're optimistic, just looking to have a good time. Yeah, but definitely the summer. You hit that on the head, Jimmy.
Yeah. Like back when I was with the radio station, funny story dealing with the festivals because
Funny
when
to
I
you or to everybody? Because you say that a lot, but more than half the time it's not funny.
okay,
So
it might not be funny, but I find it funny. Okay, so one thing is in August of 2016. At the beginning of the summer, I was working at the Bear. So on the first part of the festival week with Taste of Edmonton and K Days, I was in the K Days parade. I did some stuff at Taste of Edmonton for the Bear, and then the next weekend I was working for Cruise, and I was at Taste of Edmonton and K Days for Cruise. Two totally different companies. Totally confused the hell out of people. They saw me at one event, and they go, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I'm with Cruise now." Within the same week, I found it funny, but you might not have, but it is kind of funny
yeah, okay.
ish.
Um, that's another thing we forgot was like Folk Fest. Like holy cow, there's so
Oh,
much shit, eh?
yes.
Like
Oh,
every
yeah.
yeah, like you can't find a weekend in Edmonton in the summer, spring, summer, where there's not something to do, right?
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, and we were talking like, uh, what is it? Taste of Edmonton. They got a stage every night, and I'm not sure I can say that about all the Taste of Edmontons, but boy, it's great. We already agreed that we're going to go see Big Sugar,
I've seen
They,
them live so many times. They're such
yeah,
a great band,
yeah.
and it's
Gordy
and
Johnson,
like
baby.
yeah,
And Trooper's playing that too. And I don't know where the stage is, but it's still all around Churchill, right?
yeah. It's usually I can see where it is. I can't tell you exactly where, but you can see it right as you're coming into Taste.
Yeah,
It's usually in the same area because they have an area that's near the beer garden, so you can sit and drink beer, or you can have it. You can see if you have kids, and you can see it from there too.
yeah,
And if they're doing the same this year as they did last year, the whole the whole area is licensed. Because
yeah.
I know K Days was like the whole grounds is licensed, so you can drink anywhere.
Well, let's get after it. Big Sugar for sure, man.
Oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, good. Um, we'd be going with the ladies that we were on the boat with. Speaking of the
Yeah.
boat,
Speaking of the boat, let's get into that one. Uh, our Canada Day boat trip. Okay, which
actually, that
story do we
was
want to tell first?
well. Okay, first of all, before I forget, because we didn't really recap our weekends besides your wrestling, but a couple of dear friends of mine, Marco and Mira, got married on Sunday. So congratulations to them. All the best, guys. We love you. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful ceremony, small but special, and everyone really enjoyed it. So anyway, the boat. Um, so uh, I think the last time that you and I think we were with Diener, but we were going to go on the boat, and then it started raining when we got to
And we
Wobbly.
just got and we just got drunk in the hotel.
Like they in the town, the village of Wobman, where the marina at which I dock my boat is. Um, they have the old Wobman Hotel, and that bar is like so awesome. It's like I don't I don't I don't like using the word divey. I'll just say old school. There's carpet on the floor. Still smells like smoke. Um, like I mean, I think they used to have a shuffleboard table. There's jukebox, VLTs, and really nice people. So
It
it's not
it
hard. It's not.
has
Go
it
ahead.
has a 90 and it has a bar like an old like it has a feel like the Legion did back in the 90s. Remember when you go to the Legion with the old man? Same thing. They don't have a jukebox like they did back in the 90s, but it has that feel. Carpet everywhere, old
Yeah,
carpet. It's the same carpet from the 70s. It's you know,
yeah. No, and everybody's really nice. I mean, so again, understandably, like when we went last time before Canada Day, it was the three of us, and it was raining a little bit. So then you got to take the cover off the boat, and then if it's raining, and it probably only rained for like half an hour, but we went into the hotel, the bar, the Wildman Hotel, and that's where we spent the day.
yeah.
But it's not hard to get to order your second after you have your first there. It's a nice place, highly recommended. Um,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, actually, that was how Canada Day for us kicked off. Is driving into Wadman from Edmonton, you could sort of the sky was nice, but then you could see this big sort of system, and it was very isolated, but it seemed like it was right over Wadman. So we get to the marina parking lot, we get out of the truck, and that's literally when it started like spitting a bit, and then we're like, okay, here it comes. And I'm like, this is perfect because you don't want to be on the boat half an hour and then it happens. So
Yeah.
we all kind of agreed to go to the Wobman Hotel bar, and yeah, and you know what? We stayed for a round, and by the time we got out, it was beautiful. So we had a lovely day to play with.
Yeah. It was great. We had some fun. We were, as you do, you have a couple of drinks on the boat. We went to the sandbar out there, and someone left the music running the whole time we were there, and our boat died. Did you get a charger yet? Have you got it? Have you got yourself a charger, a booster?
First of all, Like the reason I found out the battery was dead was because I turned it on like I always do, like every 45 minutes, hour, half hour, just to get the alternator going so the battery doesn't die. But my boat's 8 years old, and I haven't replaced the battery yet. Um, it probably needs it, but I routinely turned it to get the alternator going, and it was dead. So there you go, Jimmy. Mooney fucked up. Uh, feel good about yourself?
Yes, but okay, but let's get into your story.
Well,
Me,
no, I should mention like you're on the water. You've got a 22-foot boat. You're not paddling back in when you're that far from shore, and the good people at the Wadman Marina are fantastic. I reached out to them. They were quite prepared to send a boat out, but in Wadman, if you've been out for any amount of time, there's a sandbar that's just south, well, at the south end of the shore. So you got the marina on the north end, and then basically due south, there's a really nice sandbar where you can dock or drop anchor. Anywhere from like 3 feet above, where the water's at 3 feet or where it's at five or wherever. And everyone does that when the weather's nice and you just dock and everyone gets out of their boats, has some beers, listens to music. It's great. So before the good people at the marina had to mobilize and come out with the charger, I asked this nice fella, I believe his name was Sean, if he had one, and he was happy to come over. So in exchange for a beer, he got us going, and off we went. So as catastrophic as Jimmy would like it to appear, as irresponsible as he might want to present me, it wasn't that bad, and we had a great time. So other highlights
okay,
of the trip.
yes. So one of your highlights for the trip is where I was caught with my mouth open, and and we're sitting there talking. I can't even remember what we were talking about, and I was telling a story of going somewhere with some friends. Oh, are they little people? And my response was,
No, it
no, it
was a
wasn't a
dude.
little person. Was that?
It was a dude. You were like talking a story about you and this fella were doing something.
Yeah. And you said, are they a little person? I said, no, they're no. It was a normal person.
No, it was a real person.
It was a real person. No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a little person. It was a real person, and and these words came out of my mouth as a little person,
I
and
wasn't. I wasn't
that,
involved in that. I was like, you were talking to the girls, and you were telling a story about you and this guy doing something, and then they asked you like, "Oh, was it a little person?" You know, no, it was a real person. And I was like half listening. I didn't even like my wits weren't like right there because usually I am all over you. Like any
oh,
chance I get to
when
hammer you, like I'm ready to go. I'm like ready to pounce. And you actually called yourself out, which was like to my great benefit. Because
yeah,
you're like, I can't believe, did I just say that?
the words left my mouth, and I said, did I say not a little person, a real person? And and you go, yeah, I thought that's what you said, and like, but yeah, sometimes things slip. Uh, it's and and we were laughing so hard, and the girls were like, "What's up? What's wrong with you guys?" Yeah, yeah, it
Well,
was.
you're like me and my real person buddy. You're just
Yeah,
having a
yeah,
chuckle.
it's not. Yeah, no, no, it wasn't a little person. It was a real person. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Slip of the tongue. But it was a great day. I had a really good time. I hope you did too. Um,
Oh, yeah. It was great.
I always do out on the boat. Like, um, that's why I got it. Like, I had friends out there, and uh, they said like the genesis of me buying a boat was um, them saying, like, oh, I'm like, this is fantastic. I think it was my brother-in-law, and he's like a retired. He was a fireman. He was a captain in one of the stations. So they go 3 and 3 or whatever their breaks are, but they don't just get like the weekends off or whatever. I mean, they're firemen. So he'd be out at the lake for like 3 or 4 days in a row. And that was the first time I went out, and they're like, "Oh, you're welcome to come out anytime. Like, give me a call." Like, And I had such a great time. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that. Like no one wants to be that guy going like, hey, is it all right if we take your boat out today? So as much fun and as much fun as I had, and as much as they were encouraging me to reach out anytime I wanted, I didn't want to be that guy asking. So I'm like, well, solution is to get my own. And now that I have my
Yeah.
own, anytime I bring friends out, I'm like, call me anytime, you know. People rarely do because yeah, it's kind of awkward. Is it okay if we go out and use your boat? But I mean it when I say it. Like, it's always a great time, and it's just a little hard to ask as
It's,
opposed to be invited.
it's so relaxing on the boat too. Like totally disconnected. You have to keep your phone on you because of work. But me, I just leave my phone in the truck or whatever and just sit and chill. It's where you get to hang out with people with no technology, no distractions, no nothing. Just sit and chill. Like you can hang out in the water, you can sit on the boat and just chat. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just a solid, good time.
yeah, and the Chris's Boat playlist on Spotify. For any of you listening, you want a really good Spotify playlist. It's literally called Chris's Boat, and that is the one. I don't want to call it distraction, but enhancement.
Yes. And for those who don't know, Chris is a big fan of yacht rock. So there's a fair bit of that on there.
Yeah, so you're welcome. No, it was great. It was good. It was a good time, and I'm really glad that we got to get out there. You might have a couple of days here ahead of us that we might be able to go again. So let's plan that.
Yeah. It's just a fun
Yeah.
day. You
Or
just
let's not
sit and
plan it. Let's
chill.
fucking go.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, yeah, you pick me up, you grab beer, we go to the boat.
yeah. What else do you have for us there, Slick?
Um, I don't know. Where do we want to go with this? So we've talked about Edmonton and all the festivals and all the stuff going on and stuff like that. Hey, speaking of Edmonton, any news going on with the Oilers? You always have something going
Yeah.
on.
Actually, given that we're in the midst of summer now, there's lots of other stuff going on. But as far as like, it's going to be really. This is right around the time like we're a week outside of free agency, I think. Yeah, and this is when the actual GMs go on holidays and shit. There's like some housekeeping and things they do. We signed Curtis Lazar, former Oil King, since last we spoke. Just a welcome addition. He had a rough year last year. He's a former first overall pick. Those of you that might remember, he won two WHL titles with the Oil Kings and a Memorial Cup. The last time a WHL team won the Memorial Cup, Curtis Lazar was, in fact, I believe, the captain. And he's gone on to an NHL career now where I think he's got close to 700 games under his belt. He's a
Oh wow.
right-handed shot center, and he'll likely compete for that fourth line spot. But he brings a little bit of youth. I mean, he's 30, but it's not 40. It's not Corey Perry's 40, um, or even Evander Kane's, 33. So we gotten a little younger. We certainly gotten faster, and it's going to set up some good competition. The salary hit is like league minimum. So I think that we're going to get a lot of value out of that contract. Um, so there's that. Other things to look out for, dear Edmonton Oilers fans, is there's going to be some shakeups in the coaching staff. The Edmonton's power play coach, who's been here through I think five coaches. I think he came on with Hitchcock back when he joined. McClellan, Tippett, Hitchcock, Woodcroft, and now Knobloch, Glenn Gulletson. He's a former NHL head coach with Calgary and Dallas. And Dallas hired him to be their replacement for Pete DeBoer. So he'll be Dallas's head coach, which leaves at least one coaching vacancy on the Oilers coaching roster. It was confirmed yesterday by Jason Greger that there'll be another one because they're not resigning goalie coach Dustin Schwartz, who's been here forever. And there's a lot of fans that I know that are excited about that because they weren't a big fan of him on account of goalie performance. But we'll see. But I imagine between now and the next week, before everybody goes up to the cabin for the summer. They're going to be announcing at least one or two. I'd say at least two coaching changes for the Oilers. Um, and the Blue Jays are on a 9-game winning streak, and they they swept the Yankees in a 4-game series. They're a team to watch, folks, and the MLB trade deadline is fast approaching. So you might see the Blue Jays um, fortify the ranks with some big acquisitions ahead of the playoffs. You know, heading into the end of September. I know it's a while from now, but holy cow, man! This team is for real. It seems like it doesn't matter who they put on the roster. Everybody's hitting. The bats are hot. The bullpen is sick, and some tweaks. I mean, this team could really challenge. They're the first in the AL East. Um, those of you not familiar, the American League East is arguably the toughest division in Major League Baseball. It features the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Jays. So if you have time, if you're, I mean, they play almost every day, but I highly recommend taking in some Jays because boy, this team is hot right now, and keep an eye on them. The team record for wins in a row is 11. I think they did 11 5 times. They've done 10 once, and they're at 9 right now. And the next two games are against Chicago White Sox, who, quite frankly, folks suck. So there's a real opportunity there for the Jays. In other news, the Eskimos won their first game of the season Sunday against the Red Blacks. They're now 1-3. But I'll tell you something: this team gets better every week, and there might be a little more reason for excitement here in Edmonton, given the arc that this team's on. And I think that they're just starting to get their legs under them. So get a chance to take in an Eskimos game. Something else to do among the bazillion other things Jimmy and I talked about.
Yeah, and going to an Elks game is actually a lot of fun. I love going to Commonwealth Stadium. It's a great venue. It's huge, and people are it's so cool hanging out with people. No one's rude. I've never
Yeah,
dealt with any rude people there.
it's like
Staff
all
is
those
great.
festivals. Yeah,
Like you can talk to anybody. You just stand there and then people will talk to you, and no one is rude if you ask them a question or anything. It's just a great day to go to an Elks game or anything at Commonwealth Stadium is fun.
yeah,
I I worked there years ago. The staff is great. Like from ticket takers to security to the paramedics to all of it. Like they're just
the paramedics.
okay. One time I got dragged. Have we talked about that story on this podcast?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so. Yeah, like, but you know,
uh,
you're gonna meet. You're gonna the next time you go to an Eskimos game, you might meet police too because of your predilection for ass biting. So you know, like you'll get to meet
I
everybody.
only do it in wrestling matches, but yeah, not last year, but the year before, I I basically drank I had 2 beers before going to Commonwealth Stadium, and then I drank 11 while at the game. That's a lot of beer for a little guy. And I went to leave and I tripped over air and knocked myself unconscious and
Yeah,
got
like you
taken to
do.
the hospital. As you do on a Sunday night. Um, then,
And that was
then
you
I,
said you had a couple before, like that. That was that you, Grant and Locke at Pint.
no, I like whenever we go, they weren't with me that time, so I was
Oh,
actually not hanging out with anyone. I just ended up going there and then just people hanging out with people at the end zone there underneath the scoreboard, and people were buying me beer left, right, and center. After that experience, I did actually burn my buy a midget a beer hat. I because I think that was the problem was I had a hat that said, buy a midget a beer. And so everybody bought me a beer,
yeah. There you go.
but
No,
then I
like
was
listen,
concussed for 2 days.
I told you. Um, like I'm not going back until they change the name to Eskimos. But all this talk of like civic pride and all the Edmonton events and stuff, it's like maybe, just maybe, I could be convinced to take in a game, as long as I
But,
wear my Eskimos jersey that says Eskimos on it.
hey, you know what? It's do they go by the Elks still, or was it?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
they were going
I
to
mean,
change it.
I don't. They don't go heavy on it. I mean, obviously, when you watch the broadcast, which is what I do, they say the Elks, but they had that weird logo with the abstract elk head when they first came out with the
Yeah, with
announcement.
all the weird lines.
Yeah, and one of the things, uh, like new ownership, the first time we were privately held, not publicly owned, was the about three quarters through last year, and I know we talked about this, so I won't belabor the point. But the new owner, the first thing he said is like, "I've been an Eskimos fan." So like, obviously, he's kind of old school Eskimo guy. But one noteworthy thing they did to begin the year is they dispensed with the stupid fucking elk logo. So it's just a double E, you know.
It's just a double E,
Yeah,
which is great. I'd like it. It's a fun day if you have a
yeah,
chance to go to
and I
see an
gotta
Elks
tell
game.
you, I gotta tell you though too, Jimmy. Like TSN, the TSN broadcast team does a good job of like, Um, I don't know, like with the camera angles and stuff. Uh, when we played in Winnipeg a couple weeks ago, it was sold out. Like it's crazy. Same thing with Saskatchewan. That used to be Commonwealth. Now it's like there's as good a job as the camera people do. You can see a lot of empty seats. And like I said, I think the one missing piece of the puzzle is changing the name back. But I'll leave it there.
You know, you you're not wrong because there's a lot of people like when they changed the name. There was a lot of people that said, "Okay, I'm getting rid of my season tickets." There was a lot of people that were mad about it, you included. Like you're not the only one, and you know it is
Whatever.
what it is. They're
Yeah.
trying something different, but
Yeah, like who the
you know,
hell am I too? Like I don't expect to run everyone to run through quad with me, like lead any kind of bandwagon. But I can vote with my wallet, and that's what I do, right? So, but having
yeah.
said that, I mean, if you ever go to a football game, you're going to need someone there to look out for you, obviously. So, you know,
Uh, that's why I don't go, and that's why I don't go anymore because
I'll take
uh,
one for the
'cause
team.
I I do not want to be taken and dragged out there in an ambulance.
Yeah,
Like
I'll take one for
when
the
that
team, and I'll take one for the team and put on my ass pad and go to the game with you.
because the funny thing about that story is like Locke was on like the time that happened. Lachlan, who I used to work with at Cruise, best friend. Like he's always been the guy that's looked out for me whenever anything weird happens. He's the first one that everybody tells. When that happened, he was in Saskatchewan and he got 15 text messages of pictures of me laying knocked out unconscious with paramedics, working on me. And he was getting Facebook messages and text messages, and he's calling me as I'm knocked unconscious on the ground. And it's, yeah,
So there's a bunch of
one of
people in the
those.
in the foreground of your corpse going.
Yeah. And
No, I'll
yeah,
tell
it
you,
was
if
just,
you want to go, pick a day and I'll go with you.
yeah, we'll pick a game. I don't even know when the next home game is.
Yeah, the last one Sundays was at home, so we'll see. Doesn't matter. Anyways, we can move on.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I
We can
said,
move on.
keep an eye on those Blue Jays, and I don't want to make any bold predictions, but I really feel like this Eskimo team is catching gaining a little bit of momentum, and I'm hopeful, anyways. And there are a lot of really good pieces. When you bring in almost a whole new team, that's got to come together. So something to keep an eye out for. We'll update you next week for sure.
Oh yeah. And Off air, when we were talking just before we started our podcast, you said something to me that I didn't really know about you is you read a book a week. Like what kind of
Yeah.
books do you read? Like what kind of
Um.
stuff?
Oh. Um. Yeah, I've read like everything. I used to read a lot of like Russian stuff, Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and stuff like that. But I read when I was when I was like, gosh, maybe first year university in the summer or high school. I read this book by James Michener called The Novel, and it was a novel, but it was called The Novel, and it was just like largely about the love of reading, and it was almost like if you read an article or something and you get a tip off about a new TV show or a new piece of music or something like that book, the novel, name dropped a whole bunch of other novels. So I literally kept a list, and I was lucky enough to have a job in the summer where I could read some really classic books. Um, and Yeah, ever since then, it really ignited the love of reading for me. So I read about a book a week, maybe every couple of weeks, depending on my weeks. And frankly, right now, I'm more like the action genre, like spy thriller, that kind of shit. Uh, and I'm especially like a fan of series, like not the nerdy type shit that you like Star Wars loser type shit, but like like
Don't sugarcoat it. Just
yeah.
call me. Just don't sugarcoat it. Just call me a loser because I like Star Wars.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, like a recurring character, the recurring hero type guy. Um, it's definitely, like I've read all the Gabriel Allen books by, oh gosh, it'll come. Oh, Daniel. Anyway, Brad Thor, Brad Taylor, um, Daniel Silva. Sorry, Gabriel Allen. And right now, I fell into this. Jack Stewart has written some really nice books. It's what do they call it? Battleborn series. Um, but I just fell into this new series um, uh, by a fella named let's see, Donny J, Donyjay, and it's the warrior spy thrillers. So that's the kind of stuff I read. And um, when I was younger and I read a lot, it was like, it really helps you kind of figure out life a little bit because I mean, it resonates if it's universal. If it's universal, you can learn something from it, that kind of thing. And obviously, I will never consider myself knowing too much because that's the best way to learn more. But so I read a little less of the classics and a lot more of these spy thriller type things. And right now, like I said, I'm reading Donny J, Warrior Spy series. The lead guy is like a name, Reagan Rainey, and I'm really into the page turning. So like something that'll keep me up at night. I kind of dig. It's as good as watching any great series on Netflix. You can't wait for the next episode. You can't wait to turn the next page. So right now, Donny J. But if you ask me next week, it'll probably be something else.
have you? Were you ever into the Tom Clancy
Yeah.
stuff?
Oh yeah. I think he's like the original serial hero type stuff. I no, he's not. I mean, there's other guys before him, but another guy, Nelson DeMille. Um, John Corey, the Nelson DeMille John Corey books are fantastic. The narrative that comes from the lead, John Corey, he's like kind of sarcastic and a little bitter, and um, like just the humor that comes out of this guy's narrative. But yeah, Tom Clancy, the whole Jack Ryan thing, um, just really well written books. I remember reading that as a teenager and thinking that that stuff was just the shit. Um, and I mean, Clancy's passed, God rest his soul, but other people are writing. I think his son now is a main character, Jack Ryan Jr. or something. But they're all like, yeah, it's a genre, right? Um,
Like
I will
I,
say,
I've
go
loved
ahead.
all the Tom Clancy movies, like the movie adaptations of all these. I've heard from other people, and I want your opinion on it. Close to the way the book is.
Yeah, well, the last one that they did, they adapted to the screen was Without Remorse. Um, and that was like Michael B. Jackson, I think.
Mike,
Um,
Jordan,
oh yeah, Michael B.
Michael
Jordan.
B. Jordan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, he played Clark, I think, in the Without Remorse, and that was off script. That was not like the book, but the one that was I can't remember the name of the movie. Maybe you could help me, Jimmy. Um, Willem Dafoe played Clark with Harrison Ford as Jack Ryan. Um, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but that one was like fucking bang on as far as the book. Hunt for Red October, not a lot of similarities. Patriot Games, okay, but that one with Willem
Uh,
Dafoe, that
Pate, uh,
was
Patriot Games was Harrison Ford
Sean
in
Bean
that
was
one, and but Clear and Present Danger. Does
that's the
that sound
one.
right?
Clear and Present Danger was awesome. Yeah, but like any one of those books, if you want to get into a series and you're not used to the genre, the Tom Clancy's are great. I will say that just from a personal perspective, a little bit too technical. Like he was a big fly guy, I think, and he got he got really like nerdy, and I mean like in a Jimmy nerdy way, which is like annoying to everybody. Um, and like with the technical terms and like
You're
military,
you're not wrong.
just stop,
You're
just
not
stop.
wrong. I know. Yeah, you're not
So
wrong.
like you've got and like but the character development and the dialogue is great, but again he can go down these equipment rabbit holes, but never don't let it distract from the story. And there's so many great books out there. I mean, gosh, you can spend your whole life reading every single book ever written and not be done. So I highly recommend to all of you, find something you like, get into it, and it's a great way to spend a beautiful day on a deck,
Or on
if not,
boat.
or on a boat. Yep. If you can dodge the ass biting buddy that you're hanging out with.
I only bite during wrestling shows. I don't bite everybody. like, yes, you don't have to keep me away from children because of my bite in the sandbox. Like,
You got scolded by that one kid. What like at the wrestling?
yeah, yeah, it's. But I get scolded by kids all the time because they don't realize I'm an adult. But it's it is yeah. I don't bite all the time. Just the odd wrestling match.
You opened a Pandora's box there. And I'm
I
glad I
did.
asked you what happened last Friday.
You're never gonna let me live this down.
No,
It,
no, whatever,
but
chompers.
it's one thing, and I sent this to you in our prep, and I find this fascinating. There's a law that was launched in Tennessee. It has nothing to do with anything that we were talking about right now, but it's dealing with bullying. So that's still a thing. And there's a bunch of different places that are trying to, weed it out by making it illegal and giving punishments for people that do cyberbully or, physical bullying of any type. And in Tennessee, they launched a law, and I want your opinion on this one,
Yeah.
Chris. If you're found guilty of bullying or cyberbullying, you can get your license suspended. What do you think of that?
Well, there's a number of ways to look at it. So there's the practical aspect, which is um, that's a okay. Like you have to understand that I'm not expressing an opinion about the law itself or the principle behind the law. Okay, but the law is prohibited because it's a suspension of civil liberties. Um, it's understood that like nobody has a right to drive. Like you have an obligation to maintain your license, to ensure that you're capable, to prove that you're capable, to pass the exam, to get the license in the first place. All of those things are driver related. Um, but when a government says we don't like your behavior, so we're going to take X away from you, that's a very, very slippery slope. And so, um, if a suspension of a driver's license has nothing to do with the operation of a motor vehicle, then we are definitely sliding down the slippery slope of government overreach. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Now, I'm not saying that the behavior cited shouldn't be sanctioned in some way, shape, or form, whether it be through a fine or whatever. But to take away someone's earned right to drive on that basis is that's one aspect of it is egregious and unfair and leads to it takes you down a slope where somebody doesn't like what you said at the grocery, all of a sudden you can't leave your house, right?
That,
So
that's not
that
necessarily
that's the
no, because you said
punishment.
you can't leave the house. No, you can. You just can't drive. Like there's
No, no,
people
no,
that,
no, no, no. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
two
okay.
separate things. But if they go, we don't like that you engage in this behavior, so we're going to take away your earned right to drive. Well, the two aren't related. And so, what I'm saying by way of contrast is that if you go down that road, then your freedoms can be suspended for all kinds of reasons by the government, which has a track record now demonstrated on the basis of behavior that they deem worthy of sanction. You follow what I'm saying?
Okay.
So when I
Yeah,
say, okay,
I do to a point, but when you talk about the fact that you're taking away someone's civil liberties of being able to drive the car, what about the victim of the bullying? The bully themselves are taking away their civil liberties of being safe, their civil liberties of being like it's it's just you're taking away somebody else's liberty, so why can't we take away yours?
okay. Um, I know, I like we've talked about bullying a little bit. I worry about like my feelings about like obviously I'm on the same page as everybody I would presume or every reasonable thinking person that it's wrong to denigrate anybody for any reason to be honest with you like I, I I disagree with people all the time. I never get personal. I never come after people, and I think fundamentally that's wrong. Um, uh, I feel like, and Jimmy, we've talked about this. Um, there's nothing more empowering than the ability to stand up for yourself, or even just to shrug something off, or to not have something bother you. But ultimately, the point is that you're self-reliant, and you feel empowered by your ability either to dismiss what's being said to you or to fight back against it, whatever the circumstance requires or demands. When government gets involved, fundamentally, like in almost every circumstance, we are talking about um, less empowerment of the individual, right? Like you follow what I'm saying? So,
I kind of do. Yeah.
so,
I
and like when did I mean, bullying's been around since well before you and I were kids, um, and I imagine it'll be around perpetually. Um, the idea that someone's going to fly in a white cape and save everybody is doesn't like that doesn't compute unless we're talking about comic books here. And at the end of the day, the best way to combat bullying is to empower people to be dismissive of idiots and even to defend themselves because once that happens, you're a much stronger person. When the government
yeah.
steps in, we'll take care of that for you. You're not stronger. You become a dependent, and your emotional dependence is attached to the government actions on your behalf. So you are less independent and more dependent when the government decides they're going to take control of whatever's going on with you in your life. In my opinion.
But the thing is though is when you're dealing with bullying, yes, there are a number of people like myself who are able to get around it, to be able to have the confidence to do like. be who I am, regardless of what other people think. But there are other people that, you know, deal with mental health issues because of it, suicide problems. Like, you talk about, the civil liberties of the person that is doing the bullying. What about the person that is pushed to the point that they can't handle life anymore and they kill themselves?
Yeah.
Like what about situations like that, or situations like where you have someone that was bullied and they decide, okay, I'm going to get back. I'm going to school with a gun, because you want me to fight back? I'll fight back. I'm going to come and then kill people.
Yeah.
Like not everybody has the mental capacity sometimes to be able to handle it. Like some people have, like myself. I when I was younger, I was very. I didn't like people. I had no friends. I stuck to myself. I didn't go anywhere. My whole life was hanging out in my bedroom, or something like that. And the thing is with time, I gained strength in myself, but not everyone has the support of that, and not everyone has can deal with it. Some people are institutionalized because of it. They deal with counseling because of it. They like there's so many things, and I think something like that, where it's like in the case they're suspended, they don't lose their license, but it's just a matter of, you know there has to be consequences to your actions. As children, we were taught growing up, if we did something wrong, we there were consequences. And I think this is just a consequence. And I do agree to a point. Like, and what if they changed it from a law where you lose your license? Okay, you're gonna bully someone, you're gonna do that, jail. You like there's another your civil liberties are really messed with then, if you're thrown it. Like, there has to be consequences for people's actions in every case. Like, if that's my opinion.
Yeah. So, like, just so we're clear, like when I'm talking about, I'm talking about government overreach and the ability for government to just say, like, you can't do something. Now, I'm trying to reconcile that, and I firmly believe that because not in this case do I think that people who engage in like the types of behavior that you described, yeah, there should be sanctions against them if it's well documented and there's proof. Absolutely. Just so we're clear, my point about the civil liberty thing is that it's a slippery slope. Like today it's bullying, uh, tomorrow it might be ass biting. But like no, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
something that the leaders or the bureaucrats of the day decide is not societally acceptable. Well, then all of a sudden, like I said, I can't leave my house or something. Like you're actually already seeing that in the UK with speech, which is like chilling. Okay, so I'm not necessarily advocating for an absence of punishment per se, but an absence of punishment for something like that, wherein civil liberties are restricted, is a bad precedent that can apply to a wide swath of behaviors in society at the government's discretion. So, but getting back to your point, we're not going to solve this problem, obviously, and we both have
No.
opinions on it. And I have a shit ton of respect for you for being an advocate, for people that have been impacted by bullying. And I think like uh, like fair fucks to you. It's one of the things I respect about you. Like few and very rare things, by the way. Um, but but I got to tell you, um, and I think that I might be able to get you to um, maybe like agree a little bit, um, reluctantly, that Um, even like that when we empower people to to when we empower people to gain their own independence and to feel good, whether that be independence of thought, independence of opinion, independence of like it is a strong sense of self and your trust in your own independence. I think that's the greatest the greatest combative measure you can take against bullying, in my opinion. How we get there, I don't know. I know the good work that you do talking to people helps, but the last thing you need to do is make somebody a victim. And when we say we're going to protect you, that's exactly what you're doing.
I, in a way, I kind of agree, but in a way, I disagree. And let me explain why. Because one thing is if in the case of this law, if you are the one that's dealing with being bullied, and then someone like, say hypothetically speaking, you're the one bullying me, okay, and I'm standing up for myself, but you're still being a dick, and you're making it worse. Like the harder I fight back, the more you push. But if you push and cross a line, and there's consequences for your actions, it that does help in the confidence of someone like myself, me going, I'm not alone. You know, there's other people like you. Like one of the biggest things where you become a victim is when you feel like you're alone, like no one's on your side. Like it's that's where confidence is built, and that's one thing that helped me growing up is when guys that picked on me, there was consequences. Like they were suspended from school, or they were set, or something like that because of what they did. There's consequences, and that helps people that are going through that stuff going, okay, you know, it's not my fault. It's like that's where people that are the victim, hey, if nobody's standing with me, then it's got to be something I did. It's got to be my fault. And then what confidence do you have then when you believe you deserve it? Like that there's no consequences for what have happened because you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah,
there
one hundred
has
percent,
like
100%. It pains me to say it, but you've added some nuance to this discussion that makes a lot of sense to me. um, but yeah, I mean, it just it pains me to think of somebody thinking that they didn't have allies out there, particularly when you have like a jerk off, like insecure, which is most bullying is driven by insecurity, but insecure fucking jerk off bully guy coming after somebody and that person thinking they're alone. My goodness, uh, like talk about bizarro world because the vast majority of us don't support that kind of behavior and don't support that kind of victimization. Um, so there's a nuance to that, to the discussion, the broader discussion we're having, wherein when someone knows that someone has their back, they feel more empowered and less victimized. So that kind of flies in the face of my whole you're victimizing the person by punishing. So maybe if we could agree that government shouldn't be involved, um, but that we should work on strengthening support groups for people that maybe get put asunder by bullying sometimes. I don't know.
like I get the whole government overreach, and I really do that way. But one way to curb some behaviors is have rules. Like you have rules in school, why not have rules in public? Like, and that's all a law is a rule. Like if you're gonna, you know, fat shame someone on social media, if you're gonna make fun of someone because they're short or they have and make them feel like nothing, there has to be consequences.
I guess
It
okay.
doesn't matter where it's coming from. There has to be consequences, and the only way the consequences actually stick is if they're law, or else what happens
There's a tangible
is
loss.
it's your opinion. Okay, no, That's just my opinion. We're
Yeah.
talking around in circles here, but
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add like one curveball here. Okay. Um,
okay.
and this is important because I'd like to think anyway that the vast majority of bullying is centered around speech. So like if I denigrate you because of your stature or something, or somebody who's overweight and I call them fat or whatever. I mean, this is where it gets really fucked up. To be honest with you, is um, like we're talking about speech, right?
Okay.
And so and I like I said, I'm making a big leap here or a big presumption, but bullying is speech. Like, I would absent like people going after guys because they're little or something. Like, but um, so if I call you a pejorative on the basis of how you appear, or try to find that spot that you're insecure about and use words to hurt you, this is like a whole extra hour, and we won't go there. But how do you sanction somebody's speech? Because again, the discussion, the precipice of what we're talking about, or the precedent here is that, like, if you take away that person's right to say something, then that can very quickly devolve to where no one can say anything.
But if like
Like,
free
even
speech
if I don't agree,
is no, but free speech is, your ability to express your opinions. But does that give you the right of hate speech? Does that give you the right of racism? Does that give you the right of preventing like no, like you're like yes, you do have you do have the right to free speech, but hate speech is not good. Defamation of people is not good. You can sue someone and in some ways, defamation is a form of bullying. Racism is bullying. It's so how there's no fine line there. If you're expressing hate of any type, whether it be free speech or
no. So
the freedom of the press,
okay,
like,
awesome. Here's my point though. Like, um, the question then becomes, see, like a lot of what I'm talking about when I talk about speech is predicated on the idea that society um, has shared values. Society is universally opposed to behavior X, behavior Y, behavior Z, and there are mores and there are values that society shares. So, like, one of the reasons why someone might be a fan of free speech is like, I don't have to worry about what you're thinking. The ignorance in your brain is coming out of your mouth, and so now I can not shop at your store or not listen to your podcast or whatever the fuck the case may be. Whether or not society is as bound by its shared values now as it was, say, 10 years ago, again, a discussion for another day. Um, but when you say words like hate speech, ultimately, hate is a subjective term. So then we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, if we're going to sanction people for hate speech, then who defines what hate is? And then it's like, okay, well, like, then it's just such a slippery slope. And I get, like, I think that before we get too deep into this, Jimmy, and like, come over tonight with a case and we'll talk all night and not bore our listeners. but, but like, like we have to understand that um, if any body that represents any group of people, particularly the government, wants to do something to, I don't even want to say curb bullying, but curb the impact of bullying, is like to dedicate your resources towards empowering people and making them feel better about themselves, and letting them know that they're loved and letting them know that they're supported, as opposed to like venturing off into this punitive civil liberty suspension stage, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I agree with you to a point, but there has to be consequences for your actions. There's consequences for everybody's actions, like when it comes to so many
Yeah, we know
things.
that, but
And
speech. That's all I'm saying. But
but
speech, like that's that, and this is where it gets really muddy. And you know, like, and I'm a free speech absolutist. So like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, I mean, I'm like,
okay,
open your mouth and
let
show
me
me that I'm
ask
an idiot.
you a
Not you,
question.
but
Dealing with the free speech thing. Okay, so let's deal with cyberbullying. Okay, so let's do that. Say you have uh say I post a picture of you and go, uh, you know, Chris Mooney, I believe he has herpes. Keep away from the guy. That's free speech, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
so you're okay with that?
Well, first of all, I told you that in confidence. Um, no, now you're telling the tens of our subscribers.
Uh,
No, no.
uh,
No, like, yeah, I am. You have every right to say it, and anybody that's particularly concerned about it. I mean, I can call you and go, "Yeah, Jimmy's talking shit about me." Um, uh, you know, like your credibility is on the line when you make statements like that, and presumably you'll be asked to account for your statements by people that are concerned about the matter at hand. It's not perfect, but um, suspending people's ability to speak is like the toilet bowl uh, around which like dying societies swirl, in my opinion.
I yeah, we'll never agree on that one.
Okay, and that's good.
Um,
Like, and there's
but
nothing wrong. There's nothing better than when you have two people like on this forum or any other podcast or anywhere else that go, yeah, we don't agree, and that's good because guess what? We're expressing our desire or we're expressing our feelings about agreeing or disagreeing and we're engaging in dialogue and people can make up their own fucking minds. And again,
yeah,
this is all predicated on my presumption that we don't like that kind of behavior, and somebody that's going to engage in that behavior openly using the mechanism of free speech would like very very quickly lose credibility in the broader sense of like people in our world in our society. And maybe if we
yeah, but
reinforce shared values enough that it's just understood that that's not acceptable, that would be great. Too often now we have people arguing against all kinds of fringe ideas and things that the collective doesn't necessarily agree with, and it divides us, microcosmically to where macrocosmically, when we talk about big issues like bullying, that people don't feel empowered to speak because they're afraid they're going to get canceled, like 100 other people that spoke up about much tinier issues.
but but in your like dealing with the whole speech thing, if your rights to free speech are infringing upon mine of being safe and comfortable, that's when your rights are when are infringing upon other people's rights.
But hang on,
How the
you just said though, like, and here's where it becomes like a 10-hour conversation, or hopefully not, but like when you go, my rights of feeling safe and comfortable. You just said feeling. Like
or
feeling isn't a
being
right.
is another,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
or
whatever,
being.
whatever. But understand what I'm saying when I say this. That the way that a person feels, however marginalized they might feel like they are in society, um, like I mean, we all have a we all have a job to do on ourselves to make sure that we feel comfortable in our own skin and all that. And for a lot of people, obviously, it's harder than others. But a person's feelings, how they feel comfortable, and I like it's I don't want to put that responsibility solely on them, particularly when you got guys mouthing off like fucking idiots, making them feel bad about themselves. But again, I think that empowerment starts with your support groups. It starts with the people around which you're surrounded, and and I think also it's very much exacerbated by a united society that more often than not preaches its shared values. Now, unfortunately, we've already talked about the media landscape and all that, and division is the fucking rule of the day. But if like society spend more time, or our media outlets or whomever, focusing on the virtues of the great things that we share and the values that we possess, we don't really have to worry about how someone feels, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
But
and my
you have in the same sense though, when you are focusing on free speech and you're expressing your feelings towards somebody else. Like a prime example is I had someone tell me, say to me not that long ago, when I was in public, said, I can't believe they let someone like that in this
Yeah, we
building.
talked about that. Yeah.
And so that's how you feel. You just expressed that upon me that you don't, you're expressing your feelings in speech. How, but you're demeaning someone like myself or like,
How did you take that? Like
well, I
we
was
we
mad.
talked about this. We talked about
I
this
was
off.
mad. I was mad, but I,
I'd be like, what a fucking idiot. Like if I was there and that person said that, like if that person was in a crowded room and they said that, uh, I don't think I'm being overly optimistic when I would say that like minimum 90% of the people are like, who the fuck is this jerk off? Right? And you
yeah,
know that.
it's no,
You know that.
yes, I do, but it's just the thing is, so if your free speech is showing ignorance and hate towards somebody else, there's got to be
But
limitations to what you can share, because like you have people like the KKK. You have people like is a prime example of hate speech. Hitler. Okay, it is prime hate speech. He like there has to be limitations to what you're allowed
the,
to say.
the problem is, and again, going back to the example of who decides what hate is, uh, a united society with, and again, I can't reinforce this enough. I believe that the vast majority of us in society, like we just talked about these festivals in town and stuff, where we feel a civic pride because everyone's happy and friendly and shit like that, is that like the vast majority of us possess in large part the same values. And despite what we read in the media or whatever our social media echo chambers say, we share the virtues of goodness and righteousness and fairness and equality and all of those things. We share those, and I think that um, when we in an environment such as that, um, you have to ensure that everyone has the right to speak freely, because like the the folly and the ignorance of the things that a lot of these people say is a lot easier to come to light. It's like I'd rather you said it than wonder about what you're thinking. You know what I'm
I
saying?
I when it comes to stuff like that, I'd much rather not hear it. That's just
Yeah.
my personal
Okay.
like.
Okay. Fair enough.
But well,
But you know
we're
what?
okay. So the the moral of this story is the fact that someone in like the in Tennessee they were trying something to curb bullying, and if what you're saying is if they focused more on empowering people and less on the punishment of people doing it, uh, I see where you're coming from, where you have these groups that if more people helped people that are dealing with bullying, and less focus
Yes.
on the negative aspect of the bullying. I do understand where you're coming from there.
Like, and then
I
just
do get it where you're teaching someone to, hey, like you're okay the way you are. It doesn't matter what so and so says about you. Love yourself first.
yeah,
I
like because we
like
love you, because we fucking love you, and I think that
yeah,
like understand Jimmy, like and I know you do. I mean, we know each other a lot of years. I actually agree with you fundamentally on everything. It's just about the mechanism by which we ensure that bad stuff never gets said, and that's
yeah.
where it gets
But
tricky. And I can't wait to kill a fucking case with you over this. You know, maybe not here for,
but there,
you know,
yeah, there. I just believe that there should be consequences to there's consequences to actions and there should be.
so didn't
That's
again
more.
consequences to speech.
But bullying but bullying is more than just speech. It's like
Good,
video.
good. Like
It's like
finding it. Yeah.
there's more to it that there's physical bullying. There's threats. There's
Physical bullying is assault, and there's laws against that.
but but also cyberbullying and like stuff like
And
it's hard to
by the way, like you know, when we talk about all of this stuff, like you obviously know that I'm like fucking firmly in your corner on all this shit. I'm just talking about how we
yes.
manage it. And so, like, if you and I ever go to the Eskimos game, particularly if they change their name, and somebody's fucking with you, you know the first guy in the ring's me. And I don't care if I get the shit kicked out of me. Like, I'm still gonna be standing in front of you. And like, you know, like uh the more people that surround themselves with people like that, or the more people around people that might perhaps feel marginalized or whatever, um, knowing that people support them, like that aren't the government, might be a tangible solution. Like maybe even better than telling people they can't say things, which again is a slippery slope. It's not
Yeah.
perfect. It's not
No.
perfect. It's just that when you tell people
Uh,
you can't say one thing, someone's going to decide that you can't say your thing.
yeah. Yeah. We're kind of similar boat. I do get where you're coming from. I just believe that, with all actions, there should be consequences.
Yeah, and I don't want to.
Negative actions in every other aspect, every negative actions, always, there's always consequences. If you drink and drive, you lose your license. If you, if you assault someone,
Yeah,
there
and
is
if you tangibly put society in
consequences.
danger, there is consequences.
So I'm just saying that, like, I know where you're going about overreach, but there's also, you say there's a fine line there, but there's also a fine line on the other side going, okay, where's the consequences for your actions?
Yeah.
But we're talking around in circles. Let's change the subject.
Okay.
We're getting close to like over an hour here
This
as
is
we
the
do.
best day.
So
I got to tell you guys, there's a couple things. Okay, listen, Jimmy. You know I love you. Like we got nothing to worry about there, and I actually really can't wait to. But at the end of the day, there's really no, you know, like when two friends discuss issues about which they necessarily disagree. I don't know if you ever get to like a resolution per se, but at least we get to learn more. And I will say this, Jimmy, like, you know, when you're talking about the sense of someone who feels forlorn, helpless, maybe in absence of support, maybe doesn't have the confidence to speak out and look for that support, knowing that someone's behind you, that was a really good point that you made that resonated with me. So thank you, and I'm glad that you know, like one wonderful byproduct of this discussion is the fact that you brought up that point. So As
and you
much as
know,
I hate to say it, ass fighter. Nice work.
but but also the thing is one thing that we did come out with this is you have, if you see someone that is being marginalized, that is being bullied, like
Oh,
through speech or physical, we also have the right to say something. You know, be there for the person, help them gain the confidence that they need to get around
yeah,
it. And
like
but
dude, that was how I was brought up. And like, like sometimes you see these videos on X or Facebook or something where some guys like assaulting somebody, and I'm like, somebody's holding that camera, and I'm like, why the fuck aren't you doing anything? Because I
yeah,
know if I'm there, like I'm engaged because I can't allow, like, again, like that whole idea of like we live in a society, we share values, like 20 people holding cameras while one person's getting assaulted by another person doesn't necessarily reinforce shared values, right? Like,
no, it's like if you're sitting there watching something like
yeah,
that take
I mean,
place, you're almost as guilty as the person doing it.
like,
If you are just sitting there watching it,
yeah.
or the whole crowd mentality, pointing and staring and laughing, like how many times in school when we were kids that there's two guys fighting and half the school is sitting there watching it, going, yeah, do it, like you're
Well, that's
condoning
different.
that.
It's two guys agreeing that they're gonna fight. That's different. I've been one of those guys. I was fine with that. Like, no, but like, just like it directly clashes with my, like, one of my philosophies is like, I got to be able to look myself in the mirror in the morning, you know? And if I watch a crime being committed against somebody else and I don't intervene, then like, I literally will torture myself every morning when I look in the mirror because I'm looking at the guy that didn't do something. And I can't let that happen. I could never let that happen. And I'd like to think that most of us are like that. And this whole TikTok bullshit, maybe that's a direction that we maybe need to veer away from, right? In
Yeah,
my opinion.
I'm just, yeah, I'm kind of with you there too, because people are videotaping stuff like that, and to get clicks
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
those two
having
people are
said
beating the
that,
hell out of each. But yeah,
like, if we go to the football game and you know paramedics show up, I'm still gonna be like, "Is it? I gotta look at my camera."
but all
Dude.
right, let's is so as we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, there's a lot of festivals coming out. If you know if Edmonton is the festival city, you'll see us at some of them. We are going to be at Taste of Edmonton for Big Sugar on the
Oh, fucking
17th of
rights.
July, and
Anybody
and
listening, show up. We'll be at the beer gardens. Like,
yes,
yeah.
we'll and I'll be the little guy and he'll be the bald guy. So we're
What's going on this weekend? Like, did you like? Didn't you compile something in our prep like this week? Like, in the city? Like, is there stuff going on?
That's we just finished talking to it. It's not this coming weekend. It's like all
Yeah, I
the
know.
stuff, the festivals coming up. That's what I was talking about. So we got Taste of Edmonton. The so Taste of Edmonton starts on July 17th. K Days usually starts the same weekend, and then you got Heritage Festival is in August, and you got Fringe Festival, which is also in August, and like there's a bunch. We have a lot of stuff going on.
I know. Like, but I'm just saying, to our fair listeners, some of whom might be listening, say tomorrow, street performers. Like, something's got to be going on this weekend.
I did. I don't remember seeing anything for this.
By the way, dear listener, um, yeah, Street Performers Festival is actually really cool. Any of you that don't know. Um, I don't know. There's always something going on in the town square, Churchill or whatever. But yeah, uh, get out there. The weather's supposed to be nice. Um, between now and the next time we see you, Jimmy and I will have solved the problem of speech versus bullying. Not.
It's
You got anything
it's
else to say
like
to that
like
fighter?
like basically what you said it. No, basically what you're saying is who comes up with the rules of what's wrong and what's right. Um, when it comes to speech.
Yep.
As you said, the Edmonton Street Performers Festival is actually going on right now as we speak, starting
Yeah.
July 4th and goes till the 13th, and it's at
Beautiful.
Churchill Square.
Highly
And
recommend. Highly recommend. Take the family. Get out there.
and if you see one of us or both of us, feel free to say hi. You know, take a picture of the good looking one, and then
And
and
then take a
Chris
picture, Jimmy.
and then Chris will hold the camera for you. Um, But
Fuck,
other
I
than
love
that,
you,
this is the
dude.
Bald and Short. This is the
I
Bald
love
and
you,
Short of
dude.
It podcast. I am I am Jimmy. That is Chris Mooney, and we'll see you next time.